You know, it's funny. I've been watching the tides of human behavior for a long time. And I've noticed people always look in the wrong direction when the real danger approaches. Right now, every screen you look at is flashing red about the United States and Iran. They're talking about aircraft carriers, drones, and the Strait of Hormuz. But they're entirely missing the actual game. Wall Street, the pundits, the politicians, they love a gambler because the house always wins. They are hoping you get bored and click away right now to watch something loud, angry, and meaningless. If you want to keep giving your future away to the people making the noise, go ahead and leave. But if you want to understand how the game is actually played, hit subscribe on Vantrax Media. Protect your mind. Stay with me, because the truth about this conflict isn't going to be decided on a sand dune or a battleship. It's going to be decided on a ledger. And when the tide finally goes out on this geopolitical panic, we are going to see exactly who has been swimming naked. When you look at the herd today, it's a sight to behold. It's like watching a baseball team focus entirely on the color of their uniforms while ignoring the score. If you turn on the television, the official narrative is deafening. They will tell you that the United States is locked in an existential military showdown with Iran. They'll throw up graphics showing troop deployments. They'll talk about the price of crude oil spiking overnight, and they'll bring on 4-star generals to draw lines on a map. It's a beautifully orchestrated panic. They want you to believe that the strength of a nation is measured purely in the tonnage of its warships or the speed of its fighter jets. And so the crowd behaves exactly as expected. They sell off their stable assets, they buy into the fear, and they let the daily headlines dictate their financial and emotional well-being. It is a gentle, sad kind of madness. People treat geopolitics the way day traders treat penny stocks, reacting to every tick of the tape, completely blind to the underlying business. But if you step back and look at the actual numbers, the official narrative starts to crack. The crowd is screaming about military defeat, but they're ignoring the fact that empires rarely fall because they run out of bullets. They fall because they run out of money. The undeniable fact proving the herd wrong is sitting right there in plain sight. The cost to maintain our global military posture is rising at a rate that mathematically outpaces our economic growth. The crowd is staring at the swords, completely oblivious to the fact that the treasury paying for them is bleeding out. If you want to understand the truth about a business, or a superpower for that matter, you never look at the glossy press releases. You look at the balance sheet. And the balance sheet tells a very different story about the real danger we are facing. The anomaly here isn't a failure of military strategy, it's a colossal failure of capital allocation. While the public is mesmerized by the threat of a foreign adversary, staring at maps of the Middle East, the people at the top are quietly exploiting a massive shift in power. They are taking the productive wealth of this country and pouring it into an unsustainable machine. Think of it like a once great manufacturing company. Instead of investing in better factories or taking care of its workers, management decides to borrow billions at high interest to build a massive, gold-plated security fence around the property. Eventually, the fence is impenetrable, but the company goes bankrupt because it stopped making a product anyone wanted to buy. That is what we are doing on a national scale. The underlying truth is that a prolonged, chaotic entanglement with Iran doesn't threaten the United States with physical invasion. It threatens us with a margin call. We are financing a global empire on a national credit card, and the adjustable rate just ticked up. The strange shift in power isn't happening across the globe. It's happening right under our noses. Real wealth is being quietly transferred from the productive, everyday economy into a bottomless pit of debt servicing and perpetual mobilization. Most folks will never take the time to read the actual balance sheet of reality. It's dense, it's quiet, and it doesn't give you a quick rush of adrenaline. They are too busy reading the tabloids and watching the pundits scream at each other. The institutions making the real money rely on that. They thrive on that ignorance. If you want to be the one person at the table who actually sees the cards being dealt, you have a choice to make. The only place reading the raw numbers and ignoring the noise is Vantrax Media. You need to hit subscribe right now, because if you are paying attention to the math, you are going to be the one footing the bill. And this structural deficit, this deliberate hollowing out of our currency to pay for endless posturing overseas, it wasn't an accident. It isn't a mistake by the system. It is a calculated tax on the ignorant. In investing, I've always looked for a business with a wide, deep moat. The absolute best kind is a toll bridge. You have a river, people need to cross it, and you get to sit there and collect a little piece of the pie every single time they do. Well, there is a hidden hand at work in this geopolitical theater, and they have built the ultimate impenetrable toll bridge. If you want to know why the drumbeat of war never quite stops, you just have to ask yourself who is collecting the toll while the public sits at home panicking about Iran. It's not the folks on Main Street, it's the military-industrial complex. It's the massive defense contractors, the armies of lobbyists, and the financial institutions that eagerly underwrite all this sovereign debt. They have built a magnificent, wide moat around the truth. You see, they don't necessarily want a catastrophic, world-ending war that would destroy the bridge. What they want, what they desperately need, is the constant, simmering threat of conflict. That tension is their entire business model. Every time the media flashes a red alert about a closed shipping lane, a billion-dollar defense contract gets renewed. Every time a carrier group is deployed to the Gulf, someone is quietly collecting a massive dividend. These elite groups have successfully commodified fear. They have convinced the American people that the only way to sleep safely at night is to sign a blank check and hand it over to them without asking questions. And they built such a strong moat around this narrative that anyone who questions the spending is immediately dismissed. It's a brilliant, ruthless monopoly on the public treasury. But the most insidious part of their enterprise isn't just that. They are taking the wealth. It's how they collect it from you. Because right now, as you sit watching this, you are paying this toll every single day of your life, and they've designed the system so perfectly that you don't even realize the money is missing from your pocket. In investing, the only way you survive a market like this is by building a margin of safety. You buy a good business for less than it's worth, so that when the storm comes, your house is built on bedrock, not sand. But the hidden agenda behind all this perpetual conflict is systematically washing away your personal margin of safety. Why does this matter to you? Let me put it in stark, unavoidable terms. You don't just pay for this geopolitical theater on tax day. You pay for it at the grocery store. Every dollar they print to fund another carrier or strike group or project of power across the globe dilutes the money in your pocket. It is a quiet, invisible tax called inflation. It drains your purchasing power. It pushes the dream of a comfortable retirement, or just paying your monthly bills, a little further out of reach. Your future stability is being quietly siphoned off to fund a game where you are not the player, you are the board. You need a margin of safety for your intellect. You need an anchor of unvarnished truth in a sea of manufactured panic. And that is exactly why I built an inner circle for this community on Patreon. Wall Street and the mainstream media have billions of dollars to keep you confused. I rely entirely on you. If you want the special, authentic news, the fast, quiet facts before the herd catches on, you need to join us. Think of it as investing in your own clarity. Whether you put in $5 or $500, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you take a seat at the table. The more you invest, the deeper we go into the private community, analyzing the raw data together. I know the internet can be a confusing place, so let me make it very simple for you. And look at the top right corner of your screen right now. You see that little square box? That is a QR code. Just point your phone camera right at it. If that is too much trouble, just scroll down slightly, and the very first line of text right below this video is a link. I also pinned it at the very top of the comments so you can't miss it. Just click it. Protect your most valuable asset, your ability to think clearly. Take that step because your wealth is being drained by the hour, and there's one final piece of the puzzle that proves exactly how this whole rig game is played. I've always told folks that Mr. Market is a manic depressive fellow. Some days he wakes up wildly optimistic, and other days he is utterly terrified. And when you look at the news cycle today, especially concerning the United States and Iran, what you are witnessing is simply Mr. Market throwing a historic, calculated tantrum. The entire system is actively trying to distract you from the fundamental math we just talked about. Just turn on your television or open up your phone right now. Look at the endless, dizzying outrage over trivial domestic political arguments, the viral social media spectacles, or the sensationalized, minute-by-minute updates on diplomatic squabbles. They will bring on panels of shouting experts to debate the exact payload of a missile or the angry rhetoric in a single foreign policy speech. It is all noise. It is a manufactured tantrum designed to keep your eyes glued to the flashing red lights of panic. The people who really run things, the folks sitting in the boardrooms and the halls of power, they love this kind of volatility. They want you arguing with your neighbor about the noise, so you never look at the Silence. They want you terrified of a geopolitical chess match in the Middle East so you don't notice the creeping devaluation of your own life savings right here at home. It's a spectacular sleight of hand, the kind you might see from a slick card shop. They point their left hand toward the horizon and scream about the enemy, and while you are squinting into the distance, completely mesmerized by the show, their right hand reaches quietly into your pocket. It is distraction by design. You have to remember that the institutions moving the real money don't operate on emotion. They operate on spreadsheets. They feed you the panic because fear is a highly profitable, incredibly blinding emotion. It keeps the herd moving exactly where the system needs them to go, completely blind to the cliff edge approaching. But while everyone was staring at the ticker tape, terrified of what the evening news anchor was telling them to be afraid of today, the board of directors quietly secured their own assets, protected their own wealth, and left the public holding the bag. And that brings us right back to where we started, watching the tides. I've said it 1,000 times, and it never stops being true. Only when the tide goes out do you finally discover who's been swimming naked. Well, the economic tide of this empire is receding, and the trap they've built is perfectly legal and terrifyingly effective. When you connect all the dots we've looked at today, the madness of the crowd buying into the daily panic, the toll bridge of the military-industrial complex, quietly collecting your wealth, and the media distraction, keeping you entirely blind to the ledger. It all forms one continuous, unbreakable loop. The United States could lose this conflict not because of a sudden military miscalculation in the Strait of Hormuz, but because we are voluntarily bankrupting our own society to police the world. We are sacrificing the very economic foundation of the country to enrich a select few who profit from the illusion of endless war. It is imperial overstretch, plain and simple, and it is being paid for by the working class. That is the long game. The people running the table don't actually care about the geopolitical outcome, so long as the funds keep flowing out of your pocket and into theirs. If you've been sitting at the poker table for half an hour and you don't know who the patsy is, I promise you, you're the patsy. Do not let them play you anymore. Demand the truth. Hit the like button on this video right now. And subscribe to Vantrex Media as your absolute commitment to never playing their rigged game again. Because the absolute saddest part of it all isn't just that the wealth of a nation is being systematically stolen, it's that the public is cheering as it happens. Time is the friend of the wonderful business and the enemy of the mediocre. The same holds true for nations and for your own mind. Before I leave you to think on that, I want to make sure you have the tools to protect yourself. Building a margin of safety against all this noise requires a community of rational thinkers. If you want the fast, authentic news before the herd catches on, you need to be in our private circle. I know some of you older folks ask in the comments where to go and find the internet a bit confusing, so I've made it as simple as possible. Just take your phone and point the camera at that little square QR code sitting in the top right corner of your screen right until the end of this video. If that doesn't work, just scroll down slightly. The very first line of text right below this video in the description is a link, and I have also pinned it as the very first comment. Whether you can support with $5 or $500, it gets you a seat at the table and special benefits that the crowd will never see. Take that step, because a society built on sound money and truth will compound its success, while a society built on debt, distraction, and manufactured fear will eventually bankrupt itself. The math always wins in the end. The ledger always balances. Invest your time and your mind wisely, because when the music finally stops, the truth will be the only asset left with any real value.